You've sent over some really fascinating stuff on video games. It really shows how this whole thing has just exploded, hasn't it? From, a pretty niche interest to this massive global thing that touches almost everything.
It really has. Culture, technology, everything.
So for this deep dive, our goal really is to give everyone listening a properly well-informed take on video games. We want to unpack what they actually are, trace that surprising history from the very beginning, those early electronic sparks.
Right, the really early stuff.
And explore the huge impact they have now. The good, the bad, the unexpected. We'll be drawing on all the material you shared, the history, the industry moves, even, the controversies.
Exactly. And the sources we have here are pretty rich. They let us get right down to the fundamental nature of video games and then follow that thread all the way through to how complex things are today.
Connect the dots, basically.
Yeah, so you can see the full picture of this incredibly dynamic and influential medium.
Okay, cool. So let's start right at the beginning. When we say video game, what are we actually talking about? What's the core definition?
Okay, so at its most basic level, a video game is an electronic game. You, the player, interact with it using some kind of interface.
Like a controller or a keyboard.
Exactly. A joystick, controller, keyboard, mouse, even motion sensing now.
Oh.
And that interaction instantly changes what you see on a display.
A TV, a monitor.
Right. TV, monitor, phone screen, VR headset, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's that immediate connection, your input, directly affecting the visual output. That's the key.
Gotcha. It's that reaction, that responsiveness. That's what separates it from just like watching a movie.
Precisely. But it's often more than just visuals now, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, the name says video, but the experience is usually much richer.
Yeah.
Think about sound, the effects, the music, creating atmosphere. That's huge in most modern games.
Mm-hmm.
And increasingly, we're getting other kinds of feedback. Haptics, for instance.
That rumbling in the controller.
Exactly. That lets you feel the impacts, the explosions. Plus, microphones for chatting in-game or webcams bringing your image in.
Hmm.
It's multi-sensory now.
And the ways we actually play them, the number of devices is just incredible. You've got the old arcade machines, home consoles, computers.
That's a really useful way to categorize things, actually, the hardware platform. We started with arcades, right? Those standalone machines in public spots.
Mm.
Then home consoles plugging into the TV. Computer games. Well, they've branched out too. You had LAN games. Remember LAN parties?
Oh, yeah. Hauling your PC over to a friend's house.
Right. Then online, multiplayer took off, and even simple browser games you can play anywhere. But now, mobile gaming is massive. VR headsets, AR, cloud gaming where the game runs somewhere else entirely.
It's a lot. And across all those ways to play, the games themselves are just wildly different. It's not one single kind of experience.
Not at all. You classify games into genres, usually based on how you actually play them, the core interaction, and maybe who they're aimed at.
So like action games, role-playing games.
Right. Shooters, strategy games, puzzles. So many categories and subcategories. It's a huge range.
Which actually brings up a really interesting point, almost a philosophical one, based on some of the stuff coming out lately. What is a video game, really? The definition seems blurry.
It does, yeah. You think back to something like Dragon's Lair in the arcades.
The Laserdisc game.
That's the one. Full motion video. But your interaction was pretty limited, just quick button presses at the right time.
Yeah.
That sparked debate back then. Was it a game or more like an interactive cartoon?
So what was the consensus? What makes it a game?
Well, the general thinking that emerged was that video games need, a significant level of player input that directly and immediately affects what's happening on screen.
Okay. But then you get these newer games, like
Yeah.
walking simulators, where you just explore and piece together a story.
Exactly. Or empathy games that are all about conveying an experience or emotion, not necessarily winning or overcoming challenges in the traditional sense.
Like Gone Home or
Yeah.
That Dragon, Cancer.
Those are great examples. They don't always have clear goals or fail states, but you are actively engaging with a virtual environment and influencing how things unfold. This fuzziness even came up legally, didn't it, in the Epic Games versus Apple case?
No, right. They were arguing about what counts as a game on the App Store, especially with things like Fortnite Creative or Roblox, where users make their own stuff.
Precisely. Because some of those user-created experiences, well, they don't feel much like traditional games at all.
So what did the court say? Is there like a legal bare minimum?
Or the judge, Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers, she acknowledged there's no single definition everyone agrees on. But she pointed to interactivity as a key element. That's what separates it from passive media like movies.
Makes sense.
And she noted games are generally graphically rendered or animated, not live action. But even then, she basically concluded that the term video game is pretty broad and it's still evolving.
Huh. It's fascinating how these new forms push the boundaries. But even in, let's say, more traditional games, there are common things you expect to see, right? Core elements.
Oh, absolutely. You nearly always have a title screen, right? Options menus. Then you usually move through levels or areas.
You control someone, an avatar.
Yeah, an avatar. You get points, maybe collect power-ups for special abilities, face enemies. There's usually health or lives.
And the dreaded game over.
The game over screen, yeah. And boss characters, those big, tough enemies at the end of a section.
And save points. Crucial, especially in hard games.
Oh, definitely. Save points are lifesavers.
Yeah.
And then you get the unintentional stuff. Bugs, glitches.
Software mistakes.
Yeah, errors in the code that can cause weird things to happen. Sometimes funny, sometimes frustrating. But it's even led to things like speedrunning.
Where people try to beat games super fast by using those glitches.
Exactly, exploiting the flaws.
Yeah.
But then you have the intentional secrets, cheat codes to make things easier, or Easter eggs, hidden messages from the developers.
Right, and things like trainers or cheat cartridges, those external tools.
Yeah, third-party stuff to give you an edge.
Okay, now we talked about platforms like consoles and PCs, but it's more than just the box, isn't it? It's the whole system.
It is. A game needs a platform. That's the hardware, the computing bits, and the software, like the operating system, that makes it all run. People often just say system.
And the companies that make these systems, like Sony or Nintendo, they want you on their platform.
Right, they're platform holders. They want a big user base. And a key way they do that is with exclusivity, making sure certain big games only come out on their system.
To tempt you to buy their console or whatever.
Exactly.
And when a game does come out on multiple platforms, we hear different terms like ports, remasters, remakes. What's the difference there?
Good question. So a port, or sometimes called a conversion, is basically taking a game designed for one system and making it run on another. It's fundamentally the same game, just adapted.
Okay.
A remaster. Think of it like restoring an old movie. They usually take the original game's code but update the graphics, maybe the sound, to look and sound better on modern hardware.
Still the same core game, just shinier.
Pretty much, but a remake. No, that's a bigger job. They rebuild the game from the ground up, often new graphics, maybe updated controls or gameplay, sometimes even changes to the story. It's like remaking the movie with a new cast and director.
Got it. That clears things up. Okay, so that's a good grasp of what we mean by video game. Now, let's rewind. Way back. Where did this all start? It wasn't always these, hyper-realistic 3D worlds.
Oh, not even close. The very earliest hints were really just extensions of electronic games back in the 50s and 60s. Using the big mainframe computers of the time, they often had video-like outputs, but think of them more as lab experiments than games as we know them.
Like that missile thing you mentioned, with paper targets.
Exactly. Goldsmith and Mann's cathode ray tube amusement device in 1947. Analog circuits, radar tech. You tried to steer a dot towards targets stuck on the screen.
Wow, 1947.
Yeah. Then, as computers got a bit more common in universities and labs, you saw the first actual digital computer games emerge.
What were some of those pioneers?
Well, you had Christopher Strachey making a drafts program in '51. Nimrod, a computer built just to play Nim, also in '51. OXO, which was tic-tac-toe, in '52. Tennis for Two in '58, played on an oscilloscope.
An oscilloscope, like in a science lab.
Yeah. And then Space War in 1962, which was really influential. What's amazing is how varied they were, and the displays they used, text, vector lines, and oscilloscope, real ingenuity.
So how did we get from those lab experiments to something people could actually, buy and play at home or in an arcade?
The late 60s, early 70s were key. In '66, Ralph Baer at Sanders Associates had the idea for playing games on a regular TV. That led to the Brown Box prototype.
The Brown Box?
Yes, Sanders patented it, licensed it to Magnavox, and that became the Magnavox Odyssey in 1972, generally seen as the first home video game console.
Okay, 72. And arcades were starting up around then, too.
Right. Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney saw Space War at Stanford and thought, hey, we could make a coin-operated version.
Using cheaper tech.
Exactly. They created Computer Space, released in '71, the first commercial arcade video game. Then they founded Atari, and Alcorn developed Pong in '72.
Which was famously inspired by the Odyssey's tennis game.
That's right. And the success of both the Odyssey and Pong, that really kickstarted the whole commercial industry. It just took off.
And then came the golden age of arcades. I can almost hear the sounds now. Pac-Man, Space Invaders.
Late '70s, early '80s, absolutely. Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, huge cultural hits. But that crazy growth wasn't sustainable.
Right.
It led to, well, problems. The North American market crashed hard in 1983.
Whoa, crashed. What
It
happened?
was a combination of things. Too many consoles flooding the market, tons of really low-quality games being rushed out,
Shovelware.
pretty much. Retailers got buried in stock they couldn't sell. Consumers lost confidence.
Yeah.
A lot of companies just went bankrupt. It was a major shakeup.
So how did things recover? That sounds like it could have killed the whole thing.
The industry really had to grow up fast. Japanese companies, especially Nintendo, but also Sega, and later Sony, they became dominant. They brought in much stricter controls on development, on publishing, on quality.
Like the Nintendo seal of quality.
Exactly. Things like platform exclusivity, careful licensing, trying to prevent that kind of oversaturation from happening again. A lot of those practices still shape the industry.
Okay. And then fast forwarding a bit, the 2000s, we saw the rise of these huge, expensive AAA games.
Right. Massive budgets, big marketing pushes, aiming for blockbusters. But at the same time, the internet and digital distribution were opening doors for smaller developers.
An indie scene.
Yeah, indie games really started to boom in the 2010s. Digital stores meant they could reach players directly without needing a big publisher. That led to a ton of creativity and diversity.
And the money involved now, it just seems astronomical. Those market figures are wild.
They really are. The Asian markets, especially mobile gaming in Asia, have been massive growth engines. This pushed things towards more casual games too, and games as a service models.
Where the game keeps getting updated and you keep paying.
Often, yeah. Subscriptions, microtransactions, it's a whole different model. But yet today it's this huge global ecosystem. Developers, publishers, funding and marketing, distributors getting games out there, hardware makers, retailers. It's complex.
And the actual money, what were those numbers again?
In 2020, the estimate was around $159 billion globally.
Billion.
Yep. For comparison, that's like 3 times the global music industry and 4 times the film industry that year. It's enormous.
Wow.
And it's not just the games, the demand for better graphics, faster processing, that's constantly pushing innovation in computer hardware too.
Incredible. What a journey from those blinking dots on a screen. And, along the way, we even developed a whole language around it.
We did. The words we use have shifted. Video game, computer game, digital game, electronic game, sometimes used interchangeably, sometimes meaning slightly different things.
When did video game become the main term?
It seems to have really caught on around 1973. The Oxford English Dictionary points to a Business Week article from November 73.
Okay.
Though Nolan Bushnell thought it might have been used even earlier, maybe in 71 or 72, in trade magazines. So it's kind of bubbling up around then.
It seemed to spread pretty fast once it started.
Apparently so. Keith Smith, a historian, thinks it was probably suggested by people in the industry and just clicked. And Ed Adlam, who wrote for the coin-op industry magazines, started using it consistently from early 73.
And he often gets credit for popularizing it.
He does. In 82, Replay magazine credited him with naming them video games. His reasoning was simple. Arcades had pinball, mechanical games. They needed a word for these new screen-based games.
To separate them out.
Exactly. He tried TV game, television game, but video game. Stuck. Maybe borrowed from Billboard talking about music video jukeboxes. It just worked.
Makes total sense. You needed that distinction. Okay, let's dig back into those platforms we mentioned. PC, console, handheld, arcade. What really defines each one for the player?
Okay, PC games. Big advantage, flexibility, openness. PCs aren't just for gaming, so performance varies a lot based on your hardware.
Right, depends on your graphics card and all that.
Yeah. But that openness means potentially cheaper games, more developer freedom, loads of hardware innovation, and mods. Player-made modifications.
Mods are huge for PC gaming.
Totally. Plus big online multiplayer scene, often player-run servers, and then you have the whole market for dedicated gaming PCs built for power.
Okay. Then consoles, the traditional home gaming box.
Consoles are dedicated devices plugged straight into the TV. The hardware is standardized, which makes development a bit easier. Everyone's targeting the same specs.
Less variation.
Right. And they usually only play games made specifically for that console family. Can't usually play an Xbox game on a PlayStation.
Right.
And they always come with their own specific controllers. Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, those are the big ones.
And handhelds, like the Game Boy or the Switch Lite, their role seems to have changed a bit.
Handhelds are those all-in-one portable units, screen, controls, console, all built in. Dedicated gaming machines, but usually less powerful than home consoles or PCs to save battery and keep size down.
They used cartridges for ages.
They did. But yeah, their dominance has definitely been challenged by smartphones and tablets, which do so much more than just games.
Right. And arcades. Those big cabinets feel almost nostalgic now.
Yeah, arcade games run on specialized hardware, often just for one game, in those big, durable cabinets with built-in joysticks, buttons, screen.
Yeah.
They used to be the heart of dedicated arcade businesses.
Rows and rows of them.
Exactly. You still find them, maybe in cinemas or bowling alleys, but it's not the main way most people play anymore. Still a unique vibe, though.
For sure. Then you've got games that don't need any special hardware at all, really. Browser games, mobile games.
Browser games just use web tech, HTML5, JavaScript, so they run pretty much anywhere with a browser and internet. Mobile gaming on phones and tablets is, well, it's colossal now, reaches a massive audience.
And they use the phone's features, right? Touchscreen, camera.
Exactly. Touch controls, accelerometers for motion, GPS, cameras for augmented reality, blending the game with the real world.
And cloud gaming. That sounds futuristic, like game streaming.
It's a good analogy. The idea is the game runs on powerful servers somewhere else, in a data center. All the heavy processing happens there.
And they just stream the video to you.
Yeah, video and audio streamed to your device. Could be a simple laptop, TV, phone, whatever. Your inputs go back to the server. The big requirement is a really fast, stable internet connection to avoid lag.
Latency. Gotcha. And finally, VR, virtual reality.
VR games use those headsets with screens for each eye, creating that 3D stereoscopic view that tracks your head movement. Feels like you're in the game.
Less hand controllers, usually.
Often, yeah, for direct interaction. They usually need a pretty beefy PC or console to run them, though.
So many ways to play. What about playing old games on new machines? Emulation.
Yeah.
Backward compatibility.
Right. Emulation is software that mimics the hardware of an old system, lets you run, say, an old Nintendo game on your PC or a modern console.
Is that...
The emulator software itself usually is. Getting the actual game files, the ROMs, if you don't own the original game, that can be copyright infringement. But companies sometimes sell official emulated versions now.
Okay. And backward compatibility.
That's when a new console is designed specifically to be able to play games from its older versions. Maybe it has some of the old hardware inside or built-in emulation.
Makes sense. And how we actually get games has changed too, right? From cartridges to downloads.
Oh, massively. Early games were baked into the hardware or on ROM cartridges. Now, most platforms are programmable. We went from cartridges and floppy disks to CDs, DVDs, Blu-rays.
And now mostly digital downloads.
Yeah, digital distribution over the internet is dominant. No physical media needed. Cloud gaming takes it even further. The game's even stored on your device.
And games don't just end when you finish the main story anymore. There's DLC, mods.
Right. Expansion packs used to be physical. Now it's mostly DLC, downloadable content. Can be small cosmetic things or huge story additions. Some free, some paid extra monetization.
And user-generated content, players making stuff.
Yeah, tools letting players create levels, items, whole new game modes. And on PC especially, you have mods, player-made alterations that can completely transform a game.
And the controllers. We touched on them, but the variety is huge.
Gamepads, joysticks, mouse and keyboard, touchscreens, motion controls like the Wii or Kinect.
Racing wheels, light guns.
Man's pads, specialized stuff, even cameras tracking your body, VR input systems.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even need a handheld controller anymore.
And all that input creates the output, the sights and sounds. That's fundamental.
Totally. Games output graphics to a display could be an old CRT, an LCD monitor, a phone screen, a projector. Quality, color, depth, refresh rate, resolution depends on the platform's hardware and how well the game is made.
From simple text to realistic 3D.
Exactly. Or even augmented reality, mixing digital stuff with the real-world view from your camera. And sound, of course. Effects tied to actions, background music setting the mood, all coming through speakers. Maybe enhanced by that haptic feedback we mentioned.
Okay, so we've got the what and the how technologically. Let's talk about classifying the experience, genres and game modes. How do we categorize what it's like to play?
Genres in games are mostly about the gameplay, how you interact. Unlike movies, where it's often about the story genre. A shooter's a shooter, if it's sci-fi or historical.
Though horror games seem like an exception, more about the feeling.
That's a good point. Horror games are largely defined by trying to create suspense and fear, often through narrative and atmosphere, more than just a specific mechanic.
We know the big genres: action, RPG, shooter, but then you hear these other terms: roguelike, battle royale.
Yeah, some are self-explanatory, like sports or puzzle, but others come from influential games. Roguelikes mimic key features of the old game.
Okay.
Random levels. Permadeath.
Start over if you die. Ouch.
Yep. GTA clones for open-world crime games. Battle Royale from PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Fortnite. Names evolved too. Early first-person shooters were called Doom clones.
So it's like a hierarchy. Broad genres, then the subgenres.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And lots of games. Mixed genres. Action-adventure is a classic hybrid. Combat, exploration, puzzles, story. All mixed together.
And then there's how many people play. Single player versus multiplayer.
That's the main split. Single player, just you. Multiplayer, more than one. Can be local, everyone on one screen or device.
Couch co-op.
Right. Or networked LAN parties back in the day. Or online now, connecting players globally. Usually competitive, but also cooperative modes. Co-op, team-based stuff. Even asymmetric, where players have totally different roles.
And MMOs. Massively multiplayer.
Yeah, games supporting hundreds or thousands of players at once in a shared world. And then you even have weird niche things like zero-player games. Basically simulations you set up and just watch unfold.
Wow. The variety is just immense. But games aren't just for fun anymore, are they? We're seeing them used in all sorts of other ways.
That's a really important shift. You have the core, or hardcore games, often complex, demanding time, aimed at dedicated players. But then there's the huge world of casual games.
Easier to pick up and play.
Exactly. Simple mechanics, short sessions, broad appeal. Often on phones, browsers, lots use social media links. And even simpler are hyper-casual games like one-button control, super short bursts.
And games for learning. Educational games.
Definitely. Educational software has been around, but games are used more and more. There's a difference between maybe clunky edutainment and well-designed educational games that teach through good gameplay. Problem-solving, critical thinking.
Like Oregon Trail, Carmen Sandiego.
Classics. They taught history, geography, resource management. Even games not made for education, like Minecraft or Space Chem, are used in schools now.
And serious games, what falls under that?
That's where the main purpose isn't just entertainment. Think fitness games like Wii Fit, training simulators like a Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Advert games, games made to sell stuff.
Yeah, like Pepsi Man back in the day. Or news games trying to explain current events, like Narcogare about the drug war. And then there are art games, or art house games.
Those sound like they're pushing boundaries.
They often are. Trying to communicate a specific idea, evoke an emotion, challenge norms, often indie games. They might ditch traditional goals entirely, focusing on the experience.
Like Passage, Flower, That Dragon, Pantser.
Those are key examples, really using the medium for artistic expression.
Okay, so with all this different content out there, how do people know what they're getting, especially parents? Content ratings.
Yep, just like movies. Video games have rating systems, nationally and internationally. They give an idea of the target age and flag specific content, violence, language, themes.
So you see an age number and then icons for violence or whatever?
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
And age rating plus descriptors. It's mostly a voluntary industry thing to provide transparency, though misleading ratings can get you in trouble. Enforcement varies by region, though.
What are the main systems people might see?
In North America, it's the ESRB. Europe mostly uses PAYG. Australia has the ACB, which is actually legally binding and can ban games. Japan has CERO. Germany has USK.
It's different everywhere.
Largely, yeah. Though there's an effort called IIRC, the International Age Rating Coalition, trying to streamline ratings for digital games across regions.
And some countries have even stricter rules on top of that.
Oh, yeah, based on politics, culture. Germany used to be very strict on Nazi symbols, though that's eased a bit for art. China has heavy censorship. Games need government approval. Politically sensitive stuff is out. Foreign games often get changed a lot for the Chinese market.
Wow, it's a complex global picture. Different values, different concerns. Okay, let's shift to the people making the games. The developers, the industry itself.
Game development is super multidisciplinary. You need programmers writing code, artists doing visuals, sound designers, musicians, writers for story and dialogue, game designers planning the actual rules and feel.
And producers keeping it all on track.
Right, producers, project managers coordinating everything. Back in the day, it might have been one person doing it all. But games got complex. Now teams can be huge, hundreds of people, kind of like movie productions.
Though you still get tiny teams or solo devs, right? Especially for smaller games.
Oh, absolutely, particularly in casual and mobile. But for those big AAA blockbusters on consoles and PC, yeah, you're talking big teams.
Yeah.
Years of work, which leads to huge costs, intense deadlines. Sometimes games ship unfinished or need lots of patches later.
And the tech they use has changed massively, too.
Totally. From wiring circuits directly in the early days to using microprocessors from the mid-70s onwards, that was revolutionary. Allowed much more complexity.
And now they use game engines, like Unreal or Unity.
Exactly. Powerful toolkits that handle a lot of the basics. Plus, specialized physics engines, middleware for things like networking or audio. Lots of tools to help build these complex things. And quality assurance testing is vital to catch bugs. Though, like we said, patches after release are pretty standard now.
And alongside the big studios, that indie scene really took off.
Yeah, mid-2000s onwards, digital distribution was key, letting small teams sell directly to players. Plus, development tools became more accessible. It allowed for much more experimentation, games driven by artistic vision rather than just publisher demands.
It's interesting, too, how games are being studied now, academically. You mentioned ludology and narratology.
Right, those are two big approaches in game studies. Narratologists look at games as stories, plot, characters, themes, like analyzing literature or film.
Yeah.
Ludologists focus on the game part, the rules, the systems, the act of playing itself. They argue that's what's unique about games.
Is one right?
Well, it's an ongoing debate. Many think you need both perspectives, which leads to ideas like emergent narrative.
Emergent narrative.
That's when a story arises naturally from playing the game, from your interactions with the systems, not from a pre-written script. The unique stories players create through their choices and the unpredictable things that happen in the game world.
Cool. So with all this creativity and tech, how is it all protected, legally speaking? Intellectual property.
Mostly copyright. The game is an audiovisual work, the code, art, music, text, that's protected. But the core gameplay idea or mechanic, usually not.
Like the idea of matching 3 gems.
Exactly. That basic concept isn't copyrightable in most places. It's the specific expression, the unique art, sound, code that's protected, not the general idea. Idea versus expression.
That explains why you see similar game types from different companies, building on ideas, not just copying.
Right. Often it's innovation, iteration. Think of all the shooters after Doom or the open-world games after GTA. That's seen as normal evolution. But especially early on, or in places with weak IP laws, you did see blatant cloning of games and hardware. That caused problems, contributed to that '83 crash. Figuring out where innovation stops and cloning begins is still tricky.
Okay, let's zoom out to the business side again, the whole industry ecosystem. It sounds like a huge machine.
It is now. Before the '83 crash, it was kind of the Wild West. Lots of small, inexperienced companies. The crash forced more structure, more standard business practices. Nintendo was really key in setting that up for consoles.
With licensing and quality control.
Yeah. Then the industry centered around that publisher-developer model. For a long time, publishers fund and market. Developers make the game. Digital distribution shook that up again, enabling the indie boom we talked about.
So who are all the players in this ecosystem today? It sounds like a lot.
Okay, deep breath.
Yeah.
You've got publishers funding, marketing, often creative input. Developers making the games. Distributors getting games to stores or digital platforms.
Like Steam or the PlayStation Store.
Exactly. Retailers, actual stores, or online sellers, though physical retail is shrinking. Hardware manufacturers, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo for consoles, companies making PC parts like NVIDIA or AMD,
Okay.
third-party peripheral makers, controllers, headsets, gaming media journalists, reviewers, websites, influencer streamers, YouTubers, huge impact on sales now. Esports organizations, leagues, teams, broadcasters.
It's a whole sport now.
It really is. Trade groups like the ESA, lobbying and running events like E3, and finally, the gamers themselves, the consumers driving it all.
Wow. That's a lot of moving parts. And where is all this happening?
Yeah.
Geographically.
It started mostly in the U.S. and Japan back in the 70s, 80s. They're still massive players, but it's truly global now. Big hubs in North America, Europe, Southeast Asia, Japan, South Korea, China are huge. Hardware manufacturing is still mostly Asia, but game development happens everywhere with internet thanks to digital distribution.
Are there big differences between regions?
Yeah, some interesting ones. Japan still loves handhelds and local multiplayer. Arcades are more alive there. South Korea has a massive PC online gaming culture, especially MMOs. China's huge but heavily regulated. PC and mobile dominate. Different tastes, different market structure.
It's incredible. Not just a huge business, but this massive cultural force, too.
Oh, definitely. Video game culture is global now. Identifying as a gamer, the social networks built around games. It's huge. It's entertainment. It's competition via esports.
And you see it everywhere in mainstream culture.
Totally. Social media, politics, TV, movies, music, constant references. The pandemic really highlighted it, too, as a way for people to connect socially when they couldn't physically meet.
And that whole debate are video games art. That was a big discussion for a while.
It really was. Especially around the mid-2000s, film critic Roger Ebert famously argued they couldn't be art. But legally, the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in Brown v. EMA in 2011 basically settled it, said games are protected artistic expression, like films or books.
And now museums exhibit them.
Yeah, big names like the Smithsonian, MoMA, they recognize the artistic and cultural value. Games designed explicitly as art are more common, too.
And the influence goes the other way, too, right? Games inspiring movies, TV shows, though that can be hit or miss.
Absolutely. Lots of adaptations, comics, novels, too. But translating interactivity to passive media like film is hard. Some adaptations have done well financially, but critically, it's often tough. Though maybe they're getting better at figuring it out. And you can't ignore the music.
Oh yeah, game music is amazing now. From chiptunes to full orchestras.
Exactly. It's really recognized now. Covers, remixes, huge concerts like video games, live playing game scores. Licensed music is big too, in sports or rhythm games. And game tech, like the virtual sets used in The Mandalorian, that came from game engines.
Wow. And games get used to promote movies and stuff too.
Yeah, tie-in games. Quality varies wildly on those, historically. Sometimes good, often less so.
Okay, so beyond the fun and the culture, what about actual benefits or concerns? It's not all positive, is it?
No, it's complex. Research suggests educational benefits, learning by doing, problem-solving strategy, cognitive benefits too, hand-eye coordination, visual processing, attention skills, even some physical benefits from motion games.
And mental health.
Some studies suggest positives there too, stress reduction, mood improvement, social connection through online play, coping mechanisms, but yeah, there are definitely concerns.
The violence debate is the classic one, right? Do violent games make people violent?
That's been debated for decades, especially after events like Columbine. Concerns about influence on young people. And addiction gaming disorder is now recognized by the World Health Organization.
So the science is settled on those?
Not entirely. The links are still debated, especially cause and effect. But it's acknowledged that game reward loops can be very compelling, potentially leading to excessive play for some. And then there's monetization.
Loot boxes, making people spend money after buying the game.
Exactly. Concerns about loot boxes being like gambling, especially for kids. Plus other controversies over the years, congressional hearings, lawsuits, things like the no Russian level in Call of Duty, Gamergate.
Gamergate was huge and messy.
Very. Plus ongoing issues about discrimination in games or communities, and crunch time, those brutal working hours in development. It's got its dark sides.
Definitely a lot to unpack there. And as games get older, preserving them becomes an issue too.
Yeah, retro gaming is popular, collecting old games. Some are worth a fortune now. But the physical media degrades, the old hardware breaks down, companies disappear. How do we make sure future generations can experience these early games?
Oh, people are trying to archive them.
Yes, archivists, historians, museums, enthusiasts working to preserve game history. It's seen as important cultural heritage now.
And there are actual video game museums now.
There are. The National Video Game Museum in Texas, the Computerspiele Museum in Berlin, one for Soviet arcade machines. The Strong Museum of Play in New York has a huge collection. Even big art museums, like we said, are collecting and exhibiting games now.
That really shows how far they've come. From a hobby to, well, this. This has been incredibly comprehensive. It's way more than just entertainment, isn't it?
Absolutely. We've gone from the basic definition through the history, the tech, the culture, the business, the controversies. It's a huge, constantly changing field.
So hopefully everyone listening now has a much clearer picture from those first blips on a screen to this global cultural and technological force.
And maybe something to think about going forward. Consider how gaming keeps merging with other media, with AI, with VR and AR. How is that going to shape our entertainment, our social lives? Maybe in ways we can't even predict yet. What part of all this, the history, the tech, the culture grabs you the most? What might you want to dig into next?